So, hello, everybody, and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. Today, we welcome you back here at BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Thursday, August 27th. Hope everybody's having a good day so far and had a good rest of their day yesterday. It is Thursday, August 22nd. We're more than halfway through the week. One more day, and then it's the weekend, which is great. We got today, tomorrow, and it's the weekend. So, So we got a lot of sports to get to today. There's a lot of sport. There's a lot of things happening in sports right now. I'm not going to talk about all those things, though. I'm kind of just going to talk about other stuff as well. But anyway, there's a lot of stuff that happen in sports. Players not playing games, stuff like that. You've heard of it, I'm sure. So I'm not going to talk about that, though. I don't really feel like getting into that. But anyway, so the Yankees played yesterday. Lost both games. Tough. I mean, there's a point where you got to sit there and be like, when we're watching the Yankees, like, there's a point where you, like so Boone, like, this is where I don't get where the decision-making comes in. Boone either pulls out Cole too early, or whatever, pulls out Cole too early, but then he'll pull out a pitcher too late. Yesterday, he pulled out Tanaka way too early. Tanaka was throwing a gem, like 60-something pitches in the 6th or 5th inning, and he decided to pull him. Guess what happens? That next inning, bottom of the 6th, I think it was a 2-run home run, ends the game. Well, the Yankees came up to bat. They didn't do anything. So, and this is where the decision making. And I've never been a big fan of the decision making of Boone, and I'm not just trying to cry just because we're really in a slump. Since our 8-1 start, we're now 8-10 because we're sitting at 6-11. So since our 8-1 start, we're now 8-10. So I'm not trying to crybaby it at all, but I never liked his Boone's decision making. Whether it's leaving Cole in too late, or that one time it was Cole had 110 pitches. In the 5th inning, he decided to keep Cole in, lets up a 3-run home run. Like, there's a point where, that wasn't Cole. I think that might actually been Paxton. Paxton was throwing a gem, got 7th inning, I think he tried to go. He got tired. There's no other way of saying he got tired. 100-something pitches, decided to keep him in, allows a double, ground out, and then another home run. Like, as a leadoff double, you should immediately take him out. You shouldn't let that go as far for him to hit a home run. But I'm not a big fan of his decision-making. Tough loss for the Yankees. We're in a slump right now. Aaron Judge, Yankees, MLB. So now these are the topics. It's Aaron Judge, Yankees, MLB. Aaron Judge looks like he will be headed to the IL once again. This broke after the game yesterday. He wasn't there in the 7th inning in the out. He wasn't active in the 7th inning. So they decided to take him out and pretty much just put in a different player, and it looks like Judge is headed to the IL. Le'Veon Bell, Jets, NFL, Gaze. Le'Veon Bell yesterday had a dispute with Gaze, said he was injured, or Gaze said he was injured, said he pulled a hamstring. Bell said he was perfectly fine. I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to tell you if this is a sign of things to come for this Bell-Gaze kind of put together thing. Then we have the Yankees, Mets, and Islanders. So that's all what we got for today's podcast. So with that all being said, let's get right into it. This is the BSN Network podcast, and this is the BSN Network podcast, and let's get right into it. So Aaron Judge and the Yankees have officially really hit almost at this point, not rock bottom, but the Yankees right now and Aaron Judge are struggling. Aaron Judge had a good game yesterday, but he has a quad injury, it seems now. So this is where the problem comes in, and this happens every year. Judge has not been able to stay healthy consistently throughout a whole season, not even 60 games. Gets off to a hot start. Everybody's like, oh, Judge is healthy, Judge is healthy, Judge is healthy. All of a sudden, gets injured. They're like, okay, not the end of the world. Every player maybe gets one IL stint. That's not the worst thing in the world. Actually, to be honest, his IL stint actually wasn't that bad because 5 of those 10 days they weren't even playing baseball. 5 of those 10 days, they weren't even playing baseball. So his 10-day IL stint wasn't the worst thing ever. He only really missed 5 baseball days because 5 of those days, Friday got postponed, Saturday got postponed, Sunday postponed, Monday off day, Tuesday postponed due to rain. So, 5 days off in those 10 days. So the first IL stint wasn't that bad. And he said, too, he didn't need to go on the IL. He felt perfectly fine. Now, this could be thrown back on Judge because maybe Judge wasn't quite ready. Judge said that he was ready. He said they told Boone that he just wants like 2 days, or he said maybe a day of rest and I should be good. And Boone took a little bit over precautions, which I'm not mad about. Although the guy was hot. Coming off the IL, you're not going to you might pick up where you left off. You're probably not. First off, when you come off the IL, sometimes these players are a little nervous, because they don't want to re-injure it. That's the first thing you do, especially if it's like a pretty bad injury. Like if it was something that you were out for a long time and then you go back out there and you run down the first base and you feel like that's even what Yoenis Cespedes was doing in his first game. When he was running down the first base, he wasn't running down quick. He hit the bag lightly because he wants to make sure that ankle is trained. You don't want to just go full into the bag. So, it might have been. But Judge had a nice hit. He had a nice hit. And I think Judge, I don't think it's the fact that I'm not trying to do this because I really like Judge. He's one of my favorite Yankees. I'm trying to do this. I'm just trying to say that I don't think Judge is the reason he's injured. Meaning, I don't think it was the reason he said, I'm ready. Right when this 10-day IL thing comes up, I'm ready. I don't so much say that is it. As a matter of fact, I think it actually could be very well that they put him on the IL. Because I think Judge was hot. He was going. He said he felt 100% the second day on the IL. There was no need to put Judge on the IL. Okay, maybe if it was something maybe if he got hit with a pitch in the hand, and they put him on the IL, and he said 3 days later, I'm ready. Well, that's a different story. First off, he got hit with probably a 90-mile-an-hour pitch right in the hand, right on the bones. You could say you're ready, but gripping a bat might not be the easiest thing in the world. That's a lot of times what happens to these players is when they get hit in the hand with something. Putting their hands in a bat or trying to squeeze a glove isn't the easiest thing in the world because it affects all these bones. But as for Judge's injury, it was just kind of an injury. It was a freak injury. Like nobody. I mean, it came off of that Tampa Bay Rays thing, which they were playing on AstroTurf. They don't really so much know if they were completely. They don't know if that was because of it because they were wearing different shoes. I mean, playing on turf can really change the way you play a game. You really can. And to be honest, I've played on turf before. I've actually played on turf twice this season. I don't think it's that bad. Actually, as a matter of fact, the turf field I play at is very nice. I actually don't mind turf because the bounces aren't that crazy. I notice that's what a lot of people. Turf, the bounces aren't that crazy, right? You sometimes on a dirt or a grass or whatever field you're on, you have those, it could take bounces. Now, fields I play at, very good infield and stuff like that. When the grass it was really there. But what I'm trying to say is sometimes you get these times where they take hops because these little pebbles or little rocks can cause, if the ball's already spinning, it hits one of those, boom, it's like a ping pong ball now. It's like boom, 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 boom. It's like a machine. It's like hits one thing, hits another, hits the other. Like as for turf, it's just going to go, 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 go. Second hop's going to be bigger than the first hop. So you just got to be ready. But I've always liked turf. But Judge now has re-aggravated his injury. So I got a quad injury now. So what's going to happen now? Are we going to put him on a 10-day IL again? Are we going to rest him? This is a big decision for Boone. Because now, does Boone rest him 1 or 2 days, or does he put him on the IL? What does he do? So, and I'm not saying that Judge being hurt is good. I'm not saying that what I'm about to say, I'm not saying that Judge being hurt is good. I'm saying, if Judge is out, it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. Because we still have Talkman, who's been hitting the ball great. Voigt's been able to really pick up where Judge left off. He's been hitting the ball great. Ford, if you need him at DH, he's been hitting the ball very good. You don't really need, if Judge is out, it's not like it's Clint Frazier, too. Another one, Clint Frazier could get some time. He's been hitting the ball unreal. He was the player of the week for the Yankees last week. I think he batted over 400. Like he was very good. So, you get to that point where, you're like, okay, that's why I think Boone, part of the decision to put him on the IL in the first place was because he was like, the reason he put him on the IL in the first place was kind of saying, all right, we have Talkman, we have Frazier, Ford at DH, we still have Voit that could pick up where you left off, right? Things like that. You know, a player you haven't heard of, though, is you haven't heard anything of Stanton. Like, Stanton went on the IL, and you haven't heard one thing since. Like, you heard everything about Judge on the IL. Everything was like, oh, Judge is coming back soon. Stan, you haven't heard anything. And it was just a grade 1 quad strain or hamstring, whatever. But I'm a little worried that it might be a little bit more than that because 10-day IL is way up for Stanton. He was actually placed on the IL before Judge was. And I don't even think I've heard him even going down to the alternate site to get some reps in or hitting batting practice yet. This Stanton injury could very well get interesting. But anyway, back to my whole point with this whole Judge situation. So it does stink Judge is back on the IL. Our teams can't stay healthy. You know, it is what it is. We just can't. You know, last season we couldn't stay healthy. This season we can't stay healthy. I mean, it is what it is, I guess. At the end of the day, it's next man up. And that's what we relied on so much last season, though. It's like, can you rely on it again? Can you rely on it in a 60-game sprint? That's the tough part. And it really is. This season is different. And people are going to say, oh, yeah, well, of course it's different. No fans, you know, they got to get, tested and all that. But people don't, if you really deep dive into the little details of baseball, you deep dive into the little details. Like, even players can't even now, and I'm not saying this is causing injury, but this is just how the season is. Like, you might just see a player just straight up have an off year this year, and I wouldn't say base this year off of that. I mean, you could, if he has an on year, I would say, okay, good. But even basketball-wise, like in the NBA, I heard from somebody, I heard from one of my close friends. He said how it's like about vantage point. Like the basketball hoop is like better for them. Like, I guess they could see it better or whatever. That's why you see a lot of these no-name guys just putting up a bunch of threes and connecting on them. Sports are different. Sports are a little bit different. But even if you deep dive into the little details of a baseball game, players can't go into the room and watch film after they're at bats. Usually when you see them go down in the tunnel, it's to watch film or go into the batting cages. They can't do that. As a pinch hitter, and people don't realize this always, pinch hitters, they don't just say, oh, hey, pinch hit for us right then. They usually tell them. They actually sometimes will tell them actually earlier on in the game. They'll say, you have a chance of pitch hitting tonight. Or they'll tell him like an inning or two earlier, so then they can go down there and get some reps. Now, even if you tell them an inning or two earlier, they can't do anything except do this in a dugout. Take your bat and just do that, just to warm up a little bit. But even players who could go into the locker room to do film, watch what they did wrong, come back out and be like, okay, I can do this better. Now you strike out, you're literally on your own island. Like, you don't know what you could have done wrong. Maybe you do, but when you watch film, it's completely different. Same thing with the batting cages. Maybe your swing just feels off. You struck out, you felt like you were really behind the ball. You can go down to the batting cages, get some good reps, and especially as a DH, because you don't got to worry about taking the field. So, the reason why, if you want to know this, the reason why you're not having these batting practices is because it's too small of an area. Film rooms, too small of an area, can't be condensed in there. I mean, the locker rooms, they say, are small enough. So, and the locker room's pretty big. Locker rooms aren't that small, but with all the players and the amount of people, the film room could very well have 2 to 3 players in there. So you can't do that. That's another thing. And also injuries. I made a prediction this earlier. There's gonna be a lot more. This is the most in the history, I think, of how many pitchers are on the IL. I think there's a total of like 101 pitchers on the IL. Like, it's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. And I said this when the season was about to start. I said, this is a big season. It's a 60-game sprint. Somebody key gets injured, that could end your season. But I was also kind of thinking, well, injuries could very well be happening way more often than we see. Because, first off, people, they had spring training. Okay, they had spring training back in March. Everything got shut down. Some players stayed in Tampa, but there was a big outbreak in Tampa. They were still working out, doing stuff like that, but then they got back to training camp. They haven't really done straight-on full baseball activity in a while. They had about 2 weeks to prepare, and they were like, let's go out there and just go play baseball. They had about 2 weeks to prepare for the season. Every single day. It's called summer camp. Every single day they had a couple weeks to prepare. 2 weeks to prepare. 3 weeks to prepare. As for spring training, you have pitchers and catchers have February, March, all that. You have 2 months. 2 months might not seem I was expecting 4 months. No. Plus all what you're doing on the side. They had 2 months to prepare. That means all of February is pretty much just pitching, catching, and all that. Then the other players report. Then all of March is spring training. You do all those training stuff. Some days you're not in the lineup because you're doing something else. Like spring training, you could do so much. Summer camp, you were limited to one stadium. Spring training, you're limited to 5, 6, 7 baseball fields and in the stadium. That's what in spring training. Spring training, you have summer camp, you had one stadium. You had to do everything as a team at once. So hitting had to be at once. Sometimes you could have, let's just say, field number 3 down. Let's just say at the Yankees facility, field number 3 could be hitting. Field number 1 could be fielding. Field number 2 could be pitching and catching. Field number 4 could be pop-ups. Field number 5 could just be straight up stretching, running, kind of doing that stuff. And you could, that's what it is. I've seen, if you watch this guy, he's called Zach Hampel. He's a baseball guy. He catches all his baseballs. He's been in spring training. Some guys, it's just straight up, guys are just throwing on the side. Spring training is kind of a do your own thing. Hitting practice, some fielding practice, some pitching. Then you have different players like, this infield, like this for this guy and this guy needs to work together a little bit. Third baseman or first baseman needs to be better scooping, so we'll give him some scooping drills. So straight up, just if you watch Play Ball too, it's another show. You'll just see straight up just them. They just do these drills. You couldn't do that at summer camp or spring training 2.0, whatever it was. You couldn't do that. What you could have done is hitting, fielding, and stuff like that, but you couldn't go into the little details. 7 fields there. 1 stadium. You couldn't do pitching on one field, hitting on the other field, pop-ups on the other field, ground balls, overall fielding, infield, outfield. You could have done all that at one stadium. And also, these players didn't have much time to train. And they have been locked down. I mean, you could still do workouts and stuff when you're locked down, but these players haven't seen live pitching either in a long time. They haven't been in that live game environment. But this is also kind of a little bit to throw it back on the players a little bit. Because if they would have agreed in June and didn't have to wait till July, if they would have agreed early June, they could have been doing spring training for a whole summer camp for a month. And those extra 2 weeks could be huge. Instead of give us 2 weeks, we got to condense everything. We got to get our fielding back on. We got to get our hitting back on. And then you had them trying to do these inter-squad games. You had these inter-squad games going. You had a couple of those. You're like, all right, we got to do this, this, and this, and this. And you're kind of like scrambling. You're like, only 2 weeks until the season. You're kind of scrambling. And things got interesting there. But the Yankees lose 2 games and possibly Aaron Judge to the IL again in doubleheader versus Braves. So you're going to see it. This might be one of the more injured seasons in all the league, out of all these years. You might see this being one of the more injury-prone seasons because these players kind of just randomly, like literally, when the deal was finalized, it was. You want to know what happened when the deal was finalized? It was literally up summer camp, like 3 days away. Players had to get on an airplane, get to the fields, barely have any time to really train or anything for spring training. Some of these guys, they're training before spring training. Summer camp, they're like, up, get on an airplane, got to go to summer camp. Expect to hit bombs. It was kind of a little bit of a rush, and that's why I think you're seeing players get off to a slow start. You're seeing players hit on the IL. I mean, I was watching the Rays-Orioles game on Tuesday when the Yankees game got postponed due to rain and the Braves. I was watching the Rays-Orioles game. The Rays have, I think 16, 17 pitchers on the IL right now, including some big names. Charlie Morton, Yonis Chirinos, a couple other guys that are in their bullpen. And they called up some alternate site guys, I'm pretty sure, and they still got injured. Their bullpen is brand new, too. Their bullpen now, there's so many just random players in their bullpen because there's so many injuries. And those aren't no-name guys either. Charlie Morton, very well, you can count him as a top 10 pitcher in the league when he's on. So, what's going to happen with this whole MLB situation? What's going to happen with this whole Aaron Judge situation? I don't really know. I hope that Aaron Judge, and it said possibly, it's not confirmed yet, but I hope this is not the case. I hope I just hope that Aaron Judge is okay. We have an off day today, play the Mets tomorrow. We have to figure out a way to beat the Mets. If we can't beat the Mets, then there's a problem with this team at this moment. And that's even another thing I noticed yesterday. And I'll talk about this more on the third topic of the podcast coming up in a little bit. Probably about 30 minutes out from that. But I was talking about, even this. You're telling me, you're going to sit here and tell me that you would rather Sanchez in than Eric Kratz, man. He's perfectly fine. You see he hit a double yesterday? I would take him any day of the week over Sanchez. Sanchez is horrible. He can't. Sanchez, and I was talking about this somebody every towards the game. I text him all the time. Every single game, it's strikeout, strikeout, strikeout. Oh, home run. The next 3 games, strikeout, 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 strikeout. It's literally strikeout or home run with him. It's literally strikeout or home run. He hits one home, and it's not like he's a big home run hitter either. It's not like he hits a home run like almost like every game, but strikes out the next 3. He hits a home run like every 10 games. Like once every 10 games. That's like horrible. That's hitting a home run once every 10 games. As for, you could hit 4 in 10 games. And his defense is bad too. Kratz's defense is better and his hitting's better. And I think the Yankees, in a way, are being a little too patient with Sanchez. They're being like, oh, he's on the ball, he's on the ball, he's on the ball. Well, you said that 3 weeks ago, still striking out. Ask him now, he's on the ball. We really see him turn around. We really see it. Well, why is he still striking out then if he's really on the ball? You know, in the beginning of all this, I knew. In the beginning of all this, when Sanchez was struggling, I was like, okay, I understand. He's struggling. He's just getting back into the groove of things. Kind of what I said earlier on about the injuries, about how you're going to see more injuries, how you're going to see some players struggle. Right? In the beginning of all this, you saw, Sanchez struggle. I wasn't concerned because he's just coming out of that, and I was kind of like, okay, well, you know what? We're progressively easing into it. Even Boone said some promising stuff. He said he's getting around the ball. He's still trying to get into the groove of things. A lot of these guys haven't seen live pitching in a long time. Still going. Even Pete Alonso, Cody Bellinger, Christian Yelich, they were all off to slow starts. They're still off to slow starts. But even like Pete Alonso, he was off to a crazy slow start. All right, Gleyber Torres too. He started to speed up though. Sanchez was still struggling a little bit. I was like, okay, some players maybe just struggle a little bit more than others. Still struggling. We're sitting here now today, Sanchez still struggling, and you question yourself, why do we keep putting him in every single day? I don't know. And I've always been on Sanchez's side. I've always liked Sanchez, but this year it's kind of turned away from me. Because I think, in a way, I know this wasn't the most easiest season ever, based on how they had to prepare for the season. But there's also a point, you're a pro ball player. You got to adapt. So, Yankees lose 2 games and possibly Aaron Judge to the IL again in doubleheader versus Braves. Wednesday was not a very good day for the New York Yankees. No, it was not at all. They lost the day portion of the doubleheader to the Braves 5-1, while only collecting 2 hits. In the nightcap, they only managed 1 run on 5 hits and blew the 1-0 lead in the 6th inning to lose 2-1. They also had to remove Aaron Judge from the game with a calf injury. Oh, calf. I've heard quad, calf, hamstring. I don't even know at this point. Asked after the game if Judge would have to spend more time on the injured list, manager Aaron Boone said it's possible via Meredith Marakovitz. Take note that this was the day Judge returned from the IL. With the calf injury, he might have to go right back. If he does, he'll join Gleyber Torres, DJ LeMahieu, Giancarlo Stanton, Kyle Higashioka, James Paxton, Zach Britton, Luis Avila, and Tommy Kahnle. Yes, they've been plagued by injuries again. These aren't no-name players either. These are Gleyber Torres, DJ LeMahieu, Giancarlo Stanton, Kyle Higashioka, who is a solid backup catcher, Zach Britton, who's probably one of our best relievers, and Tommy Kahnle. You can make the argument he's got one of the best changeups in all the league. And Luis Avila has been efficient for us too. James Paxton hasn't done anything. But Luis Avila, since he's came here, has been pretty solid. He's been able to give us an inning or two every game. Zach Britton is probably been our best reliever. I don't know now with Chapman back. And Tommy Kahnle, you can make the argument he's got one of the best changeups in baseball. So these aren't no-name players you're looking at either. You're looking at Gleyber Torres star, DJ LeMahieu star, Stanton star, Higashioka good backup catcher, Zach Britton probably our best reliever. Luis Avilan's been efficient. He's been able to go out there and just give strikes and do that. And Tommy Kahnle, one of the best changeups in baseball. Paxton struggles. But other than that, out of all these guys on the list, they're all good. And that's big. Those are big losses either. Those aren't all these alternate site guys that are just injured. I'm not trying to be mean to the alternate site guys, but you get what I'm saying. These are big name starters. These are Gleyber Torres, LeMahieu, Stanton, guys that have been able to make names for themselves in the league. These aren't no-name players that, Higashioka isn't the most biggest name, but, neither is Kahnle, but you could still make the argument he's got one of the best changeups in baseball. When Judge has played this season, he's been excellent. He's hitting .292 with 9 home runs, 20 RBIs, and 16 runs in just 19 games. We've already seen what the Yankees will do without Judge, and the answer is mostly Clint Frazier getting into the lineup. It's gone well so far from that aspect. Frazier is hitting .300 with 3 doubles and 2 homers and 33 plate appearances. He can rake, though he doesn't have Judge's power. Few do. As for the Yankees, they've now lost 5 straight and have a relinquished first place to the Rays, against whom the Yankees are 1-6 this season. They'll get a day off to lick their wounds and then start a 3-game series against the Mets in Yankee Stadium Friday. After that, they host the Rays. The weekend would be a good time to get things right. It would be. And I'm not sure, that's not a roast. That's not a roast of the Mets. I love the roast of the Mets. I love to make fun of the Mets. I hate the Mets. I mean, as a Yankees fan, you can't like the Mets or the Red Sox. Those are your 2 most hated teams. And I hate the Astros. Now, I think everybody hates the Astros. But this, and I'm not trying to be saying like, oh, because the Mets are horrible. This is true. Like, the Mets are struggling. They are one of the worst teams in the league right now. The Yankees, yes, they are struggling, but the Yankees struggling, I think, are better than the Mets. And I'm not trying to start any... I'm not trying to starting to get a little heated here. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to tell you it's true. This article nailed it right on the head. This is time for the Yankees to get a little momentum going. Let's just say they win Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Sweep that series. All of a sudden, you turn a 5-game losing streak into a 3-game winning streak. It's like those other 5 games never even happened. And now all of a sudden, you're sitting at 19-11. You're like, okay, well, we got the Rays. Let's go. Let's go. We got the momentum. We're 3 games set. Hopefully by then, Judge could be back. You know, I don't know if they put him on a 10-day IL. I don't know what's going to happen. But you're like, okay, we got a 3-game set. All right, let's go. Let's get it moving, right? And then all of a sudden, maybe you get the Rays. Maybe you catch the Rays. Because now the Rays actually might be starting to be like, oh, we got the Yankees today. We'll crush them anyway. Maybe you catch the Rays looking ahead. But, you know, this is a time for the Yankees to regroup today. They're probably back home in New York. I would assume they left yesterday. Probably back home in New York. This is a time for them to regroup, a time for them to kind of just take a day off, although they just had 5 days off and then 2 games yesterday. But this is kind of a time for them to just regroup. You know, they were supposed to play Tuesday, rain out, supposed to play yesterday, 2 games yesterday. Now today's an off day. Now you can really kind of like, today's a true off day. You can kind of be like, okay, just gather your thoughts, reset, get ready for that Mets game on Friday. Subway Series weekend version, Friday, Saturday, Sunday for the Mets and the Yankees. Should be fun to watch. I'm excited for that. Yankees-Mets is just an amazing Subway Series. So I'm excited to watch that. And like I said, I think this is going to be huge for the Yankees. We lose if let's just say we win 1 out of 3 against the Mets, well, I don't got no answer. You're going to get absolutely destroyed by the Rays. If you win 3 against the Mets, you could very well move on, and you win 3 against the Mets, boom. Now you're back up. Now that 5-game win streak is in the rearview mirror. It should already be in the rearview mirror. But now that 5-game win streak's in the rearview, and then now this 3-game win streak, you're riding it. You're riding high. Now you play the Braves, now you play the Rays, my bad. You play the Rays, you might clash a little bit, but if you can win, this is like, and I'm not even kidding, this Mets series could be one of the biggest series in so far this season. Because the Yankees are 16-11. Let's just say the Yankees get swept. They're 16-14. We would probably get swept by the Rays, possibly, if we go on an 8-game losing streak. You're all of a sudden might be sitting under 1 game under 500. So this series might be huge for the Yankees, this Mets series. 1, it's a Subway Series, so New York's going to be talking about it. And number 2, it's the Yankees versus the Mets, a bad team versus a good team that's struggling right now. I think this is really huge for the Yankees. The Yankees don't show up in this series. Yankees could very well finish out that Rays series being below 500. Yankees play the series, even if the Yankees just win 2 out of 3. Even if the Yankees even if the Yankees lose the game 1 and win Saturday and Sunday. Or if they even just split 2 out of 3. If they even just win 2 out of 3, win the series. I don't want to see 3. I don't want to see the Yankees win 1 game or win none. I would rather see the Yankees at least win 2 games against the Mets. I'm hoping for 3, and I think 3 will pop out of that. And then you can ride that 3-game win streak high into playing the Rays. And that would be an interesting series. Rays has dominated us. I mean, you read in the article, we're 1-6 against them this season. Maybe we catch the Rays looking ahead because they've had so much dominance. That happens a lot. When a team has so much dominance against a team, you catch them looking ahead because they're not really worried about you. They're like, oh, we crush them every day. We crush them every single game. So maybe you catch the Rays looking ahead and you turn that 5-game losing streak into a 3-game win streak. And hopefully this whole Judge situation gets cleared up by then, because Judge is a huge piece. And like I said, we're missing huge pieces on this IL. We're not missing small pieces. We're missing big guys in our lineup. We're missing Stanton. We're missing Torres. We're missing LeMahieu. Possibly could miss Judge again. We're missing big guys in our pitching rotation. Tommy Kahnle, Zach Britton, Gleyber Torres in the hitting. I think I already said Gleyber Torres, right? So the Yankees are missing big guys, and we don't need any more to fall. So this is huge for the Yankees. So I just hope that whatever happens here, just Judge isn't hurt there. But anyway, that's what I got for the whole Judge situation. Now we move on to the Jets. Le'Veon Bell and Adam Gase got into a little bit. So NFL. Jets pull Le'Veon Bell from scrimmage due to hamstring tightness, but star running back disputes injury on social media. Coming up right up next. So Le'Veon Bell, Jets running back. I don't know really how to start this, just because it's just kind of interesting. Le'Veon Bell is the Jets running back. We all know this. He struggled last year, hoping to have a better year this year. Let's put this straight. Le'Veon Bell had a good year, had a bad year. Last year, bad year last year. He's trying to come back this year and prove himself. Say I should be a Jet for a while now. And he's projected to have a big year this year. Now, our head coach, Adam Gase, him and Adam Gase have butted heads a little bit. This is kind of him and Adam Gase. This is kind of them. Their relationship's like, it's almost like you're trying to fist pump each other and you're like this. You're kind of like up on top of them. Like they're not quite on right. They're trying to fist pump each other. They just quite can't get on that right page. It's almost like when you try to put one of the same side of the magnets and they create that little ball thingy. It's almost like that with Adam Gase in them. It's like they're trying to fist pump each other. They're just kind of missing, right? So at this moment, the whole, and this is the big question going into this year, will Le'Veon have a bounce back year? I've said it multiple times. I think he will. I think Darnold will have the two biggest bounce back years on that Jets team. I think Quinton Williams could very well be behind him. Quinton Williams has lost a lot of weight, looks very good. From what I've seen in camp, Mekhi Becton blocking guys with just his right hand is just fascinating to me. It really is. He's just a man. He's just a beast. He's not even a human. He's just a beast. That's literally what he is. It's crazy how big he is and crazy how strong he is. But I've liked it. I have liked what I've seen out of a couple of these Jets players. Now, with that being said, yesterday we had a little incident. This was our first big incident with a head coach, and us as Jets fans were waiting for this to happen because Le'Veon Bell has talked up Adam Gase this whole offseason, saying Gase said that Gase even said that he mismanaged his thing, and I've always said this for a while now. I think Gase and Le'Veon aren't big fans of each other, but I think they try to just keep it a mutual friendship. I don't think they really are friends, but I think they just try to keep it mutual and just try to keep it, just kind of try to keep it just like it is. So Jets pull Le'Veon Bell from scrimmage due to hamstring tightness, but star running back disputes injury on social media. Now, this is where this story could go on two sides, and I have to admit, I stand right about in the middle, and you might think I'm crazy for that, but I stand on Le'Veon's side because I could tell the frustration in him. He was frustrated he got pulled. Now, it is just practice, but, you could always say, oh, it's just practice. Well, people say you should practice like you should play, and when you only have 2-3 weeks to go until the season starts, you should try to get as many reps as you can in because each one of those reps are going to help you out a little bit more, and all of a sudden you're soaring, right? So, I can understand where Le'Veon Bell is, but, what if Le'Veon Bell was kind of doing like what a lot of athletes did? What if he did have hamstring tightness, but what if he wasn't really, but what if he was fighting through it? What if he was like, Coach, got a little tightness, but I can still play? And he was like, we're shutting you down. That's what Gaze did to Denzel Mims. He pulled that hamstring, shut him down. Mims is back running again. Mims is back healthy. He's not full pads again. He's just running on the side and doing some, stuff just to work and ease back into it. You're not just going to put him right into the receiving role right again in contact drills. But what I'm trying to say is with Le'Veon Bell is maybe he said, Coach, I have a little bit of tightness. And Gay said, all right, we're gonna shut you down then. And maybe Bell didn't mean it like that. Maybe Bell was just kind of saying, if I stretch it out a little bit, but then he shut him down. Now, if he did shut him down due to that reason, I don't disagree here because I would rather Bell be healthy in the regular season than be healthy in practice. Meaning, like, if Bell were to injure that, let's just say it was a hamstring tightness. Let's just say he did go out there and he injured it further. All of a sudden now, your season could be in doubt. You very well week 1, 2, and 3 could be in jeopardy here. Because hamstrings could turn into bad. Now, all of a sudden, you should have just stayed it. Maybe Gaze thought that. Now, another reason I thought was maybe Gaze, Frank Gore, they said, has been popping really early. Frank Gore's been really playing good. They say LaMichael Pirines look good. Maybe Gaze just wanted to see Frank Gore a little bit more. And maybe Le'Veon just straight up was mad. Maybe he didn't. Maybe it wasn't hamstring tightness. Although Gaze did go in his interview and said hamstring tightness. So, it is Gaze, and I don't understand him anymore. I don't believe him half the stuff that comes out of his mouth, because if he did just lie about the hamstring tightness, why are you lying about the hamstring tightness? Why in the world did you pull him out? If it was hamstring tightness, okay, that's one thing. If Bell physically went up to you, because you can't tell if a guy's got hamstring tightness. You can't be like, yep, yeah, I could just tell that guy today, walking into a building, I knew he had hamstring tightness. No, you can't do that. If Bell goes up to you and says hamstring tightness, or a trainer who worked on him and said, just watch out, maybe limit his plays, he told me his hamstrings are hurting a little bit. But him to just make up a lie that hamstring tightness, and I'm sure we're going to hear a lot more about this today, because Jet training camp starts soon. So I'm sure we're going to start soon. So I'm sure we're going to hear a lot more about this today. I just hope this doesn't turn into a too big of a deal. And is this a sign of things to come? I don't want to say it is, but if he keeps pulling him for practice, now Bell today, it's going to be, you're going to have to watch out. That's what's going to be on the top of Jets fans' mind. I know it's going to be on the top of my mind today. I'm going to be wondering, is Bell getting his reps? Because if Bell doesn't get his reps, this is the one problem with Bell. I like Bell. He's one of my favorite Jets. I've been on Bell's side his whole run here with New York. Even through the tough times where everybody was like, get rid of him, trade him, I was on his side this whole time. You know how I've been on the show. I've always said it was the offensive line. He's coming into a broken system. He's coming in with a horrible head coach and Gaze, bad franchise. He's leaving a Steelers franchise who's had a great history, has a rich history, has a good team, good offensive line. He's joining a team with a bad team, bad offensive line, bad coach. I've been on Bell's side this whole time because everything that could have been bad here was bad. Offensive line was bad, coach was bad, team was bad. Everything that could have went bad for him. So, that's what I'm trying to say is, his best offensive lineman got released because he got injured. He got released. So, everything that could have went bad for Bell went bad. So now we got our offensive line and stuff, and now it's going to go good. But now, could this be a sign of things to come? I very well think it could be, because last season they were chatting at each other all season long. There was one game, Bell said that he only had 11 carries. One of these games. Only 11 carries. 11 carries isn't much. Kids in a youth football game can get 11 carries. Because all they do is run. So, it's tough. And I don't want to say this thing is a sign of things to come. Because if it is, it could turn ugly here. But I think it's almost a fresh start in a way for Bell. Because of the fact that he's got a new offensive line. Still in that same system, but he also came into a wrong system. He also got picked up by a GM that wasn't going to be his GM. So he had to meet two different GMs, which you might think, oh, just meeting a GM is not that bad. Well, GMs have different plans GMs have different plans. The GMs have different plans. So he could have came in here, been under McCagnon's plan. Maybe McCagnon told him, do this, be ready for this. Be ready for anything really thrown your way. He was prepared, and then they hired Joe Douglas, and he had to be prepared to what Joe Douglas was going to do. So he also had to go through two different GMs, a bad offensive line, a bad team, a bad coach, bad coaching staff. Offensive coordinator didn't even do anything. Dowell Loggins didn't even do anything. bad offensive plays. Everything that could have went wrong last season went wrong for Bell. And that's why I've been on his side this whole time. Because it's not like he was putting into a golden situation. He just straight up blew it. He was putting into one of the, you could make the argument he's been put in, same thing with Darnold. You can make the argument Darnold as a quarterback has been put into one of the worst situations in a while. He's been put into two different systems. Bowles was his first system. Last year was his second system. 2 years he had to learn two different systems. This is why everybody's really looking for the year 3 leap. Everybody thinks that he's going to be great this year because he's done a ton of work in the offseason and he's second season under a system. This is the first time. As for a look at the others quarter, that's why Baker Mayfield too has struggled. He's been through 3 different systems. Hugh Jackson, I don't think Baker Mayfield's all that good to begin with, but you got to give a benefit of doubt a little bit here. He's been through Hugh Jackson, has been through Freddie Kitchens, and now on to the other dude, I forget his name. 3 different systems. As for Josh Allen, has been very successful out of that quarterback class. Sean McDermott has been through the same system 3 years. And I'm not trying to take the credit. He's a good quarterback to begin with. But a lot of that helps with that. Because you're not learning 2 different offenses in 2 different years. So, Jets pull Le'Veon Bell from scrimmage due to hamstring tightness. But star running back disputes injury on social media. Jets head coach Adam Gase noted following Wednesday's practice that star running back Le'Veon Bell was pulled from the club scrimmage due to hamstring tightness. Gase said that it was simply precautionary. He indicates that things are not too serious in his eyes. When you ask Bell, however, he doesn't seem to think that he has any issue at all. Bell responded to a reporter, replying Gase's comments on Bell hamstring and the back said, "Ain't nothing wrong with my hamstrings." In a couple follow-up tweets to that remark, Bell seemed to suggest that he wasn't too thrilled with the amount of work he's received thus far. He stated that he needs to see a lot of work to stay loose and that I need to practice to be great in games. And then he wrote this: "It's tough to stay loose when you do a bunch of standing around, and I'm used to going." In Bell's absence during Wednesday's scrimmage, New York's offense wasn't particularly sharp. Gase saying that window is going to close quick when speaking of the Jets' time to clean up those miscues prior to the start of the regular season. As it relates to Bell, his first season with the Jets in 2019, after inking a 4-year, $52.5 million deal last season, didn't get off to the most prolific start. He averaged a career-low 3.2 yards per carry through 15 games to go along with 789 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns on the ground. He was impressive in the passing game, hauling in 66 passes for 461 yards and a touchdown. But Bell and Gase seemed to be a bit disappointed. Bell and Gase seemed to be a bit disjointed at times throughout his first year together in New York. With these comments on Wednesday, it seems like that carried over some to start in 2020. Along with Bell, New York also has veteran Frank Gore, 2020 4th-round pick, little Michael P. Ryan, Josh Adams, and Pete Guerrero on the roster at running back. So, some of those guys you might see go. You'll probably trim it down to about 3 running backs. You'll probably see the last 2 guys go. It will probably be Bell, Gore, Michael P. Ryan on that roster. Josh Adams and Guerrero will probably be on the practice squad or just get released. But, it is what it is. And I think at this point, Bell, is just honestly a little frustrated. But it was. You're gonna have times like this, but I don't want to say this is a things to come. I think it will. I think things were gonna come anyway. I think him and no matter how much they talked each other up, saying, "Oh, I misused this guy, misused this, misdid this." I don't know how many times you talk that up. I still think they have an iffy relationship. I still think they have one of the more iffy coaching-player relationships in all the league right now. I think this relationship is like bending, but it's not breaking yet. It's like crazy bend. It's like bending right now. It's literally like this. It's literally just about a snap. And once it snaps, you'll probably see Bell get erupted and Gase will get erupted. Meaning like they'll just straight up be firing back at each other. I think his relationship was a test. I think a lot of guys don't like Gase. That's part of the reason why Anthony Barr didn't come to the Jets. He literally said it felt like it was a wrong marriage. He just didn't feel like he needed to come to the Jets. Sure enough, he stayed with the Vikings, stayed with the playoff team. I feel like in a way, I think they just decided to. I think a lot of players just don't like Gase. And Bell has to go through this, which stinks. He's coming off of a good team in Pittsburgh, coming to a bad team. He's got to realize that, and that's the tough part. But I don't know if you really want to say things time to come, if it's things to come, because things have already been done, right? Things have already been done. So, it is what it is. But we'll move on from it. Hopefully, hopefully it simmers down by today. So now we move on to the Yankees. So the Yankees lost both games. If I can pull it up here, that would be great. So the Yankees play 4-game set against the Mets. They play home tomorrow, and then they play away tomorrow. Wait, hold on a second. Oh, it looks like they'll probably still be at Yankee Stadium. And then Saturday they're home again. Saturday they're home again. So, and then Saturday home again, and Sunday they're home again. And then they play 2 games on Sunday. So they're making up all these games. So the Yankees have 5 games against the Mets. So they have 2 tomorrow, 1 Saturday, 2 Sunday. So the Yankees yesterday lost game 1, 5-1. Talkman went 0 for 3. Voit went 1 for 3 with a run and an RBI. With a run scored and an RBI. Hicks went 0 for 3. Ford went 0 for 2 with a walk. Urshela went 0 for 3. Sanchez 0 for 3. Gardner 1 for 3. Estrada 0 for 1. Andujar 0 for 1. Wade 0 for 1 with a walk. Cole pitched 5 innings, 5 hits, 5 earned, 2 walks, 9 strikeouts. Sessa 1 inning, 1 hit, no earned, 2 no walks, 2 strikeouts. Yankees struggled, they lost. I mean, it is what it is. And you're not going to be able to win a game when you only put up 2 hits, right? Or how many hits did the Yankees have? Yankees had 1 hit, 1 run, 2 hits, no errors. Braves had 5 hits, 6 hits, 5 runs, 6 hits, 1 error. Yankees had 2 hits. I mean, you're not going to win a baseball game with 2 hits. I mean, there's really no other way of saying it. Yankees in the second game had 1 run, 5 hits, no errors. Braves had 2 runs, 5 hits, 1 error. Hicks went 0 for 3. Judge went 1 for 3. Gardner 0 for 0. Voit went 0 for 3. Urshela went 0 for 2 with a walk. Frazier went 0 for 3. Andujar went 2 for 3 with a run scored. Kratz went 1 for 2. Sanchez went 1 for 1. Estrada went 0 for 2. Ford went 0 for 1. Wade went 0 for 1 with an RBI. Tanaka went 5 innings pitched, 3 hits, no earned, no walks, 4 strikeouts. Chad Green went 1 inning, 2 hits, 2 earned, no walks, 2 strikeouts. I don't agree with them pulling Tanaka. I know I beat up on Tanaka a lot, but when he has a good start going, you keep him in. I mean, I don't know how much more that has to be made clear. Yankees play tomorrow. I will preview those games then. As for the Mets, they won yesterday 5-4. Mets had 5 runs, 9 hits, no errors. Marlins had 4 runs, 6 hits, no errors. Mets played today against the Marlins. Mets, Brandon Nimble went 1 for 4 with a run scored and an RBI. Conforto went 2 for 2 with 3 runs, 2 walks, 1 RBI. J. Davis went 1 for 4. Don Smith went 0 for 4. Lagares went 0 for 0. Cano went 3 for 4 with a RBI. Billy Hamilton went 0 for 0 with a run scored. Alonso went 0 for 3 with a walk. McNeil went 1 for 4. Ramos went 1 for 3 with a walk and an RBI. Rosario went 0 for 4. DeGrom pitched 7 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned, 2 walks, 14 strikeouts. Wilson pitched 0.13, 3 hits, 3 earned, no walks, no strikeouts. E. Diaz, 0.13, 1 hit, no earned, 2 walks, 1 strikeout. So, Mets play today. I'll say they pick up another win. Back to back, right? Yankees. I'll just go back to the Yankees for a second, and I just want to talk about their hitting. So in that second game, they had 5 hits, and they still only managed to score 1 run. So, as for the Islanders, they lost yesterday 4-3. They scored 3 unanswered goals. Then they had the Flyers scored 3 in the first period. Then the Islanders scored 1 in the second period, 2 in the third period. They scored 3 unanswered goals, but then lost in overtime. So the Islanders fall in this game. They play today, back to back. I'm going to go ahead and say the Islanders win this game only because they did have momentum late. They scored 3 goals late in that game. I know they still lost in overtime, but they scored 3 goals. I feel like they might be riding those 3 goals a little bit high. I say the Islanders pull out this game. Depending on how this game goes, I'll decide the next game. So the Islanders, I say, will win today's game. I think it will be another close game. I think the series will be very well 6-7 games. Should be interesting. But yeah, so the Islanders played well. I mean, they played well. They just the allowing goals early is what's going to hurt you. And this is always about hockey. You allow 2 goals early, like now you all of a sudden got to score 3 goals at least. Each goal you go up, you got to score 1 more goal, and that's the problem. When you fall down 3-0, and it's almost like you just can't get anything going. You fall down 3-0. I mean, that's what I knew when the Rangers they fell like 3-0 and they lost 4-1. You knew the game was over. Like there's no way the Rangers, how bad they were playing that whole series. You knew there was no way they would be doing all that. But it's tough. It's tough for the Islanders. They took a tough loss, but like I said, I think they had momentum going late. They scored those 3 goals late. They tied it. They pushed it. The fact that they got to overtime after being down 3-0, 3-1 going into the third period, the fact that they got that game to overtime was, I think, something that, as an Islander fan, I wouldn't be happy of, the fact that we lost. But I think I can't speak for Islanders fan, but I think that's one at least upside. If you want to take an upside from that game, at least you came back from that 3-0 lead, 3-0 deficit to tie it and at least push the game to overtime. Right, at least you made the Flyers work a little bit more. And that could be another thing, right? The Flyers had to play a whole nother period. The Flyers had to play a whole nother couple of minutes rather than just finish it out 3-0, easy peasy. I'm sure the Flyers in those final couple of minutes, I'm sure they would have rather trying to score an empty net goal than having to really play hard because they didn't want them to take the lead. So the Islanders definitely made it interesting, but took the loss. They'll be back at it today. I say they get the win. And the Yankees they have an off day today. Like I said, they got to regroup. Mets play today, gave them a win, coming off that big game yesterday. But the Yankees, they gotta figure out what's wrong with them. They gotta figure out what's happening with Judge, what's happening with the rest of the IL. Today's a day to regroup. We'll see what they do tomorrow. Should be a fun game to watch. Should be a two fun games to watch there. But with all that being said, that is what I got for the podcast. Another great podcast in the books, another 50-minute podcast or over 50 minutes. But anyway, that's what I got for the podcast today. I will see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.